If anyone has seen me during this service with my pen, which you don't normally see me, it's because I'm just cutting out parts of what I was going to say to get down to the core of it. But I do want to say a couple things. And they have to do about, to begin with, to talk about a little bit about Babel. So there's an author that many of our youth have read along their journey named Rick Riordan, and he offers this example of a conversation that misses its mark. It goes like this. Whenever Percy stepped by to see Annabeth, she was so lost in thought, and the conversation went kind of this way. Percy, how's it going? Annabelle, no thanks. Percy, okay, have you eaten anything today? Annabeth, I think Leo is on duty, ask him. Percy, so my hair's on fire? Annabeth, okay, in a while. Or if we want to skip a little bit back a generation, we have the British humorist P.G. Wodehouse, and he has this example of how it's hard for us sometimes to talk to one another. What ho, I said. What ho, said Maudie. What ho, what ho? What ho, what ho, what ho? And after that, it was rather difficult to go on with the conversation. You know, we live in a world with a lot of babble. And not the least of it is the babble between the generations, because the world is changing so fast that there is actually a generational gap between our students in high school and our students in middle school at this point, in terms of what they know and where their references are. And Heather has spent her time with us this more than this decade plus navigating that world. I think that Heather has done this in the spirit of Pentecost. And that would be appropriate to mention because today is Pentecost, a holiday that is particularly important in our Universalist heritage, one of the three most important Christian holidays, that's explained this way. On the day of Pentecost, all the Lord's followers were together in one place. Suddenly, there was a noise from heaven like the sound of a mighty wind, and it filled the house where they were meeting. And then they saw what looked like fiery tongues moving in all directions. Remember that about the fiery tongues in a few minutes. And a tongue came and settled on each person there, and the Holy Spirit took hold of everyone, and they began speaking whatever languages the Spirit let them. So I want to acknowledge that we have what many of my colleagues refer to as a gut reaction to certain things in religion. So there's probably some people out there with their gut not too happy about this word Pentecost being here today. But this was a holiday that we celebrated because it's about being united across difference. And my colleague, Reverend Fred Hammond, says, there's only one place that I know of where people speak in other tongues and others are able to understand them. And that place is in a Unitarian Universalist congregation. It's a gift we often fail to cultivate to its fullest potential. We have people who gather together professing no specific creed. We have people who profess Christian faith, Hindu faith, Jewish faith, atheist faith, pagan faith, or possibly a new thought faith. And yet here we all are, covenanting together to create a community that welcomes and promotes our differences. And we have chosen to continue to dialogue and learn across those differences. And the person who works to help us with that learning has no small task. One could say, in fact, I believe, that ultimately all religious life comes down to communication. Learning to communicate better with others, exploring our own relationship with the larger frames of life, learning to communicate better with ourselves and who we are and what we want to be, and learning to be in relationship with the world around us. One other aspect of Pentecost that's important when we think about this day celebrating Heather. Because Pentecost was not about the giving of belief. It was about putting that belief in action. It was about taking the belief, and in the words of the beautiful song that our youth choir gave us today, weaving and winding them into the fabric of our life. And that was what it was about. It was about living in a mission, not holding one's values over here on a pedestal or keeping them in a rarefied place just for Sunday morning, but making them a part of the fabric of our life. And that is what religious education is really about. It's not about teaching us what to believe. It's teaching us how to live into our beliefs. And that is what Heather has done for us for so many years, for more than a decade. She has done both the work at the foot of the Tower of Babel, and she's been that wind that helps us see. She's created the conditions for growth for people of all ages. With the same skill, she will now turn to her ranch and her gardens. How many pounds of apples have been cored on those apple pie nights to make apple pies to give to people who would not otherwise have such a healthy dessert? How many tons of coats have we packed up in black plastic bags over the years as part of the Warm Deeds coat drive? How many brilliant young lives have been set on a good course because of a critical conversation with Heather along the way? How many people have been guided by her care and her hospitality and her warmth? I know I have been grateful every time that I have. In choosing to leave her position, Heather is not moving away from her commitment to these values. She's just taking them into a different frame. She's going to be putting more time into living off the land that she and Craig have acquired recently near Morgan Territory, living there in harmony, or as near harmony as you can have, with 40-plus animals, living in the stream of that direct place where human enterprise meets the natural world. And if that is not living with a mission, I do not know what is. And her leave-taking reminds us all that we all hold the tradition, and that the invitation was never, as it was with Jesus either, never supposed to be about the leader, but about the path of the followers. And so all of us go forward. That is the gift that Heather will leave us in her time as our religious educator, though we suspect she'll be around doing other things with us in the future. The gift we can give her is to continue to weave and wind these values into our lives. Although I do want to mention that we are collecting a cash gift for her, because as far as I know, not one of those animals has a job. The best they do is raise egg money. So we were reminded today to renew our commitment to hearing the wind of understanding, to weaving into our life that which is worthy of adoration, to recommitting to the lifelong search for meaning, which only comes when we look for it. Heather Sawyers has given us more than a decade of her life to this work. She has been her guide, and now we take up our own compasses.